Thanks so much for stopping at Makeup with Mac. I think today what we're going to do is an eyeshadow palette collection, or inventory if you will. This isn't a declutter. I'm happy with the collection, but I'd really like to just kind of show you what's in my collection. That way we have a basis for how this channel is going to move forward, which I will kind of talk about where I see this going here in a little bit. But for right now, in case you're new here, hi, my name is Makaela. I absolutely love eyeshadow. I am definitely no expert, but I just want to share my love with you and hopefully inspire you as well. This might be a bit of a lengthy video, so if you don't care about the intro or anything like that, I get it, I understand. You just want to get to the palettes. I will definitely put timestamps below. That way you can get to where you care about. Trust me, I get it, it's fine. But also, I want to let you know, no, I don't have a ghost in my house. The curtains moving in the back are due to the AC and the fan on. It's 118 degrees here in Arizona, which is also why my hair is kind of falling apart, so I do apologize for that. But it's not a ghost, it's just what it is. The AC is moving that around, so I do apologize for that if it's a distraction. Not a whole lot I can do about it because I don't want to be sitting here sweating in front of you. So as far as this channel, kind of how I feel like this is going to go, the direction I'm hoping to go in with this is there is so many new releases on the regular for eyeshadow palettes. Makeup in general, of course, but there's definitely a lot for eyeshadow palettes. And I don't know about you guys, but I spent a lot of time, a lot of money putting effort into these eyeshadow palettes that I have. And with each new release, those older eyeshadow palettes get kicked further and further and further back into the drawers. So my goal today is to bring out all of my palettes, show you what I have, and really focus on the older content, if you will. There's plenty of really amazing YouTubers out there. I apologize if I butcher her last name, but I adore her. Rachel Palmieri, Samantha March, Kelly Gooch, LeahJanae. Those guys have you covered on the new stuff. So I want to focus on the older stuff and really just inspire you, inspire myself to kind of, in a way, shop your stash. Don't get me wrong, I'm still tapping into those new palettes. I will definitely be picking up some new palettes as time goes on, but I want to be re-inspired and re-love the older palettes that I have in my collection. So the content of this channel is going to be heavy around using what's in my collection and not necessarily going after all the new releases. I've got a decent collection. I believe I have 43 palettes. If that's incorrect, I'll put the right number over here. But I have about 43 palettes. And I feel like for the average Joe, do I need that much? No, but like I said, I have an obsession and I love them and I can't stop myself. So again, I'm here to re-inspire you with some of those older palettes. I do like to do some tutorials, if you will. I'll show you the brushes that I use, the placements, the techniques, but just please keep in mind that everyone's eye shape is different. Everyone's undertone is different. Things are going to show up differently. Things are going to perform differently. But my goal is just to show you how I do my makeup and what products I use to do mine. Maybe that will inspire you to try something different with your technique and get you to where you want to be with your makeup. Okay, so today, like I said, we're going to pull out all of my palettes, every single one that I have, and we're going to just quickly take a look at everything and set the basis for my collection. And that way I can determine out of these new releases coming up what I want to get, what I can afford to get, and things like that. So without further ado, let's get to the palettes. Okay, so sorry about the lighting change here. Hopefully monsoon's rolling in. It's monsoon season, but it hasn't shown up yet. Clouds moved in, changed my lighting, so I do apologize that it got kind of dark. And I also apologize, this is not your typical overhead eyeshadow palette collection. I will try and roll through this pretty quickly, but I'm working off my phone. We're doing the best we can with what we've got, right? So with that being said, here is my Natasha Denona Glam palette. This is one of my most expensive palettes in my collection by far. Here is what the outer packaging looks like, and here's what the inside looks like. I believe this was $69. Of course, I didn't pay $69 for it. I wait until my Ulta points kick in for these. Pat McGrath. This is the Celestial Nirvana Mothership Mega Palette. This is one I scored at TJ Maxx. Let's see if we can. There we go. Very, very beautiful. Very vibrant for Pat McGrath, from my understanding. I don't own a lot of Pat McGrath. She's a little out of my price range. But this is one of my newest palettes to my collection. I recently did a tutorial video with this one. This is the Nomad Okavango Safari palette. I butcher that every time I say it. Okavango Safari palette. I don't know why I have so much trouble with that. I apologize if I start just going off about these palettes. They're just so pretty and I just want to talk about them. But we're supposed to be doing a quick collection inventory, right? Okay. So I have the Sigma Ambiance. I am a sucker for warm neutrals. That's what jives with my skin tone and my blue eyes. But again, we're just doing a quick little evaluation here. My other Sigma palette, the Untamed palette. This one really surprised me. Not the formula, because I love Sigma's formula, but the different colors I tapped in. Typically, I like to stay like in this quad right here, but I started venturing out and using the purples and the pinks and the reds, and I kind of surprised myself. It was quite a lot of fun, and they turned out really good. So here's some more of my OG palettes. I did a look with this a couple of weeks ago on my TikTok, and it got a lot of hype, but let's see if you can recognize it from the outside. Yes, the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I know, it's crazy old, but man, I just absolutely love this palette. Like this color scheme, I break this up into seasons. So like for me, I see this as like a spring, summer palette. These colors are beautiful. And then I see this side as a wintry color. Like I make a beautiful like green and gold look right in here. So that's kind of how I see this palette. I can break it up and use it year round. I absolutely adore this palette. Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. This is one that I get a lot of compliments on when I wear it. It's got these warm mustardy brown yellow tones. Those tend to complement blue eyes really well. This is a palette that's new to me, not necessarily new, but new to me. It's the Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette. I absolutely fell in love with this when I saw it. I just never picked it up initially. I didn't feel like I needed it, but then my obsession kicked in and then I decided I needed it, so I grabbed it. But I was lucky enough to find this discounted at TJ Maxx. Majority of these palettes I find at either TJ Maxx or Marshall's. So if you're looking for something a little more high-end, start looking for it at TJ Maxx and Marshall's. I know LeahJanae, she does a lot of TJ Maxx Shop With Me, and she kind of lets you know what's out there. So if you have any interest in that, I can link her channel down below. I absolutely love her. She is so cute and very informative, and I absolutely adore watching her shop with me. This is the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded. Wow, my brain just kind of shut off there. Sorry, guys. But this is the Reloaded palette. I initially purchased this one. It was supposed to be a dupe, if you will, to the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette, and I didn't have the Sultry palette at that time. I do now. But this is a fantastic travel palette. I love this one. It's small, it's sleek, it's easy to work with. The colors are really neutral. As you'll see, I have a lot of neutrals here. I'm a neutral gal. This is a new one. I hope I pronounced this right. Yoma? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm bad with names. But this is the Black Magic palette, Freedom. I know there's several of them. This is the Freedom one. I'm still in the hunt for the Allure palette. Like I said, I have a problem. Don't need it, but I want it. But this palette is so, so beautiful. These three right here are duochromes. They shift. I'm trying to get that shift. There you go. You can kind of see how those change colors. These on the eyes are just so fun. I love it. But this is my only palette from them, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I can't wait to do more with those. I do have the Born This Way, the Natural Nudes by Too Faced. This is my only Too Faced palette. Nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful formula. Again, it's pretty neutral heavy, but she's a gem. Again, this is another TJ Maxx find. Let's see. So now we're getting into some of my other favorite formulas. Sigma is one of my top favorites. I do like Urban Decay, but Sigma, Natasha Denona, and Anastasia Beverly Hills, or ABH, as I'll say from now on, are some of my all-time favorites. Now this palette is really old, and it got a lot of negativity for, you know, bad formula. I'm not going to go into it, but I actually adore this palette. And there's actually a shade in here that is one of my all-time favorite shades, and it's this electric shade right here. I have yet to find a color to dupe this, and I don't know if you can quite tell in this, but I have quite a big pan in that and a big pan in that. I don't typically use the shades on this side. I stay on this side of the palette. This is my jam right here. Next one is another OG, the ABH Soft Glam. I haven't used this one as much as I would like yet, because unfortunately the new releases just keep coming out, and I keep getting the new stuff. So we're gonna try and come back and use this bad boy up. She's very, very pretty, very, very neutral, but again, we've said this 100 times, I'm a neutral girl. So here is that ABH Sultry palette that I was telling you about. This is unavailable. It was a holiday release, but if you did pick it up, maybe when I do some looks with this, it can re-inspire you to get back into this palette. But she is a beaut. I'm sure you can kind of see some of those similarities between the Urban Decay one that I had shown you earlier, the Reloaded palette, along with this one here. But I also have not used this one very much. I recently got it, even though it was discontinued. I managed to find it. This is another one that I absolutely adore that I haven't gotten a whole lot of use out of. It's the ABH Rose Metals palette. This one, my goodness, this is like grungy neutral for me. I love grungy tones. They're definitely like a fall palette for me. So that's coming up. I'll be doing a lot of looks with that one. I am stoked about that. And then my other favorite ABH palette is the ABH Nouveau palette. I have been using this one like crazy. I'm kind of shocked I don't have more of a pan in these. But here's what this color story looks like. It's a neutral greenish color story. I'm all about the greens and the neutrals. So I knew this was a palette I was going to like, but I actually love this palette. And it's funny because Samantha March, another beauty YouTuber that I follow, I can link her down below too. She had mentioned that as one of the palettes she knew she would like, but actually ended up loving. And I feel the exact same way. I knew I was going to like that palette. That's why I got that palette. But I found myself coming back to it more often than even I thought I would, because I loved it so much. And this one is actually, again, not a new palette, but new to me palette. I just picked it up recently. This is the Gemini palette from Melt Cosmetics. It's a grungy green, half neutral, guys. I don't know what to tell you. It's me. You'll see a lot of this in my collection. But I had so much fun creating a look with this one. I put this up on my other socials. But that's all for the big palettes. Let me grab those small palettes. Okay, I lied about the big palettes. I have two more. So this is the ColourPop Stone Cold Fox palette. As you can imagine, it's a lot of cool tones, but man, they are beautiful. I've dipped into this quite a bit during the winter and early spring when the seasons are changing. I'm a seasonal palette girl. I like to I like to organize my palettes into seasons. So that way I feel like I can get the most out of them. But we'll go into the details of how I choose to organize my palettes in a little bit. Let's get through this right here. So this is the Morphe 35U Gilded Desert. I'm telling you guys, my brain's kind of fried. I apologize. But if the only thing that's missing is greens, but if they said pick a palette to describe you, this would be my palette. She looks pretty new because I haven't really worked with her a whole ton, but this color story just, I mean, you've got a matte black, you've got a matte white, and then every shade of reddish, browns, oranges, silvers. Like, it's beautiful. I just, I love this palette. To me, this palette absolutely describes me to a T. But getting into some of our smaller palettes now. So this is a brand that you get at Walmart. It's Profusion. I get a lot of compliments when I wear this one, oddly enough. And I have used and abused her. This is actually my second palette. I have repurchased this one. But it's just, it's just your normal, average, orangey, yellow, brown neutrals. Then I've got this Lorac palette. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I'm not 100% confident in my pronunciation of this one. I say Meraki. I've heard other people say it other ways. I don't know. But today we're going to say Meraki because that's what works for me right now. But this is one of my favorite travel palettes. It's got a little bit of everything. You've got a couple rows of mattes. You've got 2 rows of shimmers. And just about every shade of neutral you could possibly want. It's got some pinks. It's got some purples, browns, golds, blacks, whitish, creamy colors here. I mean, it's perfect. What more do you need when you travel, right? This is the Tartelette Energy. I actually scored this at Bells, which is like a discount store, kind of like similar to Marshall's or Ross. But I got this for like 19 bucks and I just couldn't resist. It smells like chocolate almost. It's kind of strange, but I really, really like it. But again, pretty neutral. We've got some pinks and purples in there, which is a little bit outside of my typical. Usually if I'm going to go beyond browns and really neutral colors, it's green, not purple. But I've had a lot of fun playing with this one, and I get some really beautiful looks out of it that quite surprised me. Let's see here. So getting into the ColourPop collection now. This is the California Love. This one is so fun. It does have some pressed glitters. I'm not big on pressed glitters, but this color story is very warm. A lot of people see this as like a fall palette. Personally, I see this as a summer and fall palette, so I have tapped into this quite a bit this summer, but I do adore this palette. It's another one of my favorite ColourPop palettes. This is the Off Melrose palette. Again, it's a neutral bad boy, but what are you gonna do? We've got some more muted neutrals in this one. Again, that's a pressed glitter. I'm not a glitter person. Every once in a while I'll throw that on if I have some like super special event, which is like 3 times in my lifetime so far. But again, I make really soft, subtle, beautiful looks with this palette, and it's a keeper. ColourPop again, this is the So Fly palette. I'll be honest, I bought this one on a whim, and I'm really actually happy that I did. I've created some really, really nice, like, springy looks with this. I love the little dragonfly background. That is so cute. But the only color I don't tap into very much are blues, so I haven't dipped into that one very much. But again, another neutral tone. This, like, greenish blue shifty color is stunning on the eyes, but it's definitely one of my favorite, like, springtime palettes. My last ColourPop palette here, it's an OG. It's the That's Taupe palette. This is actually a repurchase. This is my second one of this palette. And I've made quite some dips in there. You can see that it's a pretty dirty palette, but I definitely see myself having to repurchase this again in the near future because I'm hitting pan, real close to hitting pan on a couple of these shades in here. And I just can't not have this in my collection. Couple more Morphe palettes. This one is the Vintage Rose palette. I got this one quite a while ago when I was trying to look for like more pinky purple looks that I just didn't have in my collection at the time, and this did it. These create some beautiful pinky purple looks. They can be really, really vibrant or really, really muted, but I love this color. Pretty in Peach from Morphe. This was another impulse buy. I heard rumors that Morphe was like going out of business, so I kind of panic bought some things, but I don't regret it because this is a very beautiful summertime palette. This can be as vibrant as it looks or as muted as you want it to be, which I really love that. And these are definitely some more pinky tones, but then of course you've got your row of neutrals, so you can really make this work for you if you're not a vibrant color person but want a touch of color. This is one of those palettes that will get you there. Okay, this is one of Sigma's 9-pan palettes. This is the Ivy palette. This was my very first Sigma palette that caused me to now love Sigma to death and want to buy every single thing that they release, even though my wallet says, don't do that, Makaela. But this is one of their 9-pan palettes. This one drew me in because these are really cool toned browns, which I didn't really have in my collection at the time, and some blues. I don't typically wear blue eyeshadow, but these just really drew me in, and it's a very pretty palette. Definitely unique to my collection, or at least it was at the time. But this is a really great one, and these are actually sold at Target. Some of the 9-pans are sold at Target. So if you're interested in trying Sigma's formula, these are really great. Go check them out at Target. So this is my only Huda palette. I actually scored this at Bell's, and I got this for dirt cheap, but I'm a Chiefs fan, and I do a red and gold eyeshadow look during football season every Sunday, and I was really struggling to find some yellows and reds that I liked, and I stumbled upon this palette, and this gave me those reds and yellows that I needed. Since then, obviously, my collection has grown, so I do have reds in some other palettes, but I do find myself coming back to this Chief Sunday to build up my red and yellow eyeshadow. Okay, I only have one NARS palette. Again, another Marshall find, but this is my only NARS palette, and it's the Suede Voyager palette. Some of these palettes, man, pain in the butt to open. But I just wanted like a more smoky neutral tone palette, and this kind of gives that to me. I can go as heavy-handed and make it as smoky as I want, or I can do a really light look with it too. But that was my goal with this palette, was a small smoky neutral palette that I could travel with, and that gave that to me. So I have two Smashbox palettes. These were my first major eyeshadow palette purchase outside of the drugstore. So that's kind of what caused this blow up of eyeshadow addiction. So I do blame these guys. This one in particular is the Minimalist palette. So I really love this because it's got like a cool tone side and a warm tone side. And even though this is supposed to be viewed as one whole palette, I see them as this is an eye look and this is an eye look. And it just makes running out the door super, super quick and easy. I love these palettes. I will always love these palettes. They're also great travel palettes. I also have this one, which is the matte eye palette. And it's exactly what it says. It's all matte. Purple matte side, and you've got a neutral brown matte side. Almost done, guys. It's... Ooh. Oh, that was a Natasha palette. She's all right. I almost cried. This is the Milani Gilded Mini Call Me Old Fashioned palette. These are a great drugstore option. I took these with me when I traveled out to Kansas City a couple weeks ago. Really neutral. This one has some shimmers in it. Very, very pretty. This one is another one of the Gilded Minis. This is the Whiskey Business. It's an all matte palette, which I do really like an all matte look sometimes. This is another one I took with me traveling. And they blend beautifully, they perform beautifully. I have no complaints about these. Oh, I have a Natasha Denona palette here. This is the Peak palette. I believe this was a BoxyCharm or Ipsy-Charm. I almost dropped that again. This is a Boxy or Ipsy-Charm exclusive. I had a friend who got duplicate boxes, so she was kind enough to share this one with me. But here are the shades. This is another red that I use for my Chiefs looks, but I'm gonna try really hard not to drop this one again. And then I have two of the mini palettes from Natasha Denona. This is the Mini Gold. This one is a big one for me. This is the greens and the golds. You guys know at this point I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker, but she is beautiful. I did get this one on sale at Sephora when it was 50% off. I don't know that it's available anymore. And then this one I do know is available. This is actually really new to my collection. I've only used it once. It is the Natasha Denona Mini Nude Palette. This is one Samantha March raves about, and we have similar tastes in eyeshadow, and so I went and picked it up based on her constant raving about it. So thank you, Samantha. Oh my gosh, I forgot a ColourPop palette, you guys. I used this on my look today, so it was sitting outside of my box, so I'm shoving this in here really quick. I'm so sorry, but this is the ColourPop Fresh Greens palette. This is one I'm constantly tapping back into on a regular basis. I use this for my eye look today. If you're interested in how I got this look, I have a short tutorial on my TikTok, which I can leave below here for you. But this is the palette. Isn't she a beaut? I have a couple of the e.l.f. bite-size palettes. This one is the Truffles palette. Again, friends, this was kind of like my smoky go-to for a couple of minutes there. Pumpkin Pie. It's funny because in my entire collection, I don't think I quite have any orange toned browns or bronzes, and so this one is a really great addition to my collection. Wet n Wild palettes here. This is the five color icon pans. This one is in Sundays. Again, it's kind of got those warmer neutrals. Are we bored of warm neutrals yet? Sorry. And then I have Walking on Eggshells, just a really nice neutral. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. We're done. I do have two little singles here from Maybelline. This one is Vanilla. I like to use this one as an inner corner highlight if I have a palette that doesn't have one. I don't use inner corner highlights too often anymore, but if I'm just in that mood and it doesn't have what I need, this is one that works perfectly for me. I also sometimes use it as a highlight. And then the other one I have here is called Linen. This one I use as a skin tone shade. It just kind of helps diffuse and buffer out some of those harsh lines. Okay guys, well thank you so much for joining me on that. There's only one palette that I did not include in this collection, and it's the Jurassic Park palette from Profusion. I do have that in my collection. I have not had a chance to dip into that or use it, and for me that's purely a nostalgic thing, so I don't think that's something I will be using regularly in my collection. If you guys have an interest in seeing the Jurassic Park collection with Profusion, I'll be happy to do a video on that, so just let me know down below, and I'm more than happy to do so because Jurassic Park is one of my all-time favorite movies, and my favorite movie and my favorite form of makeup, they collided and had a baby, and this is what it was, and I was just So if that's something you guys want to see, let me know. I'll be happy to do so. All right, well, that's it on my palette collection. Thank you so much for joining me. If I have any palettes in my collection that you also have and you're feeling uninspired by, drop them down in the comments. I will happily dig out that palette and we'll create some looks together. Hopefully I can reignite that love you had for that palette. I know it'll reignite the love I have for that palette. I just love playing with makeup, so any chance I have, I will do it. But again, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I surely appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye.